Alright, hello you sex beast and welcome back to the patch 1.65 dev server. I promise this is the last video on the first iteration of the dev server. I am tired myself of this, and we have a lot of videos going on before that, but it's currently 3:20 AM and I just wanted to finish off with some of the points I found most important in the patch notes. Now I'm going to leave a link to the patch notes in the description down below so you can follow along, and we'll get right into it. The first new feature that immediately struck my eye and that I showed off already in an earlier video is the new features in the X-ray view for aircraft in the hangar. Now when you hover over some of the modules you also get more information. For example, if the fuel tanks are self-sealing or not, how much the guns weigh, what each gun is, and well, how much ammunition each gun has, and what type of engine it is, along with the weight of the engine and the power outputs at both just normal operation speed and WEP, which is really quite interesting. A feature that's probably going to be expected and cheered at by most bombers is the ability to manually control bomb doors and the ability to drop bombs as a series. This is going to be quite great for aircraft with delayed bomb drops like the Sunderland, and I think it's one of the Canberras or the B-57. And of course, if you want to just carpet bomb in your B-29. The arcade bomber sight has been turned off for realistic air battles in combined battles. Sadly, no more point-point accuracy for all you ground attackers. It's going to be quite a bit harder to now actually hit those ground targets unless you are very good at it. This also affects torpedoes, as I discovered earlier on in the F6F5N. Torpedoes no longer get a prediction marker in RB, so you now need to know your torpedo drop speeds and altitudes for them to even work. Sadly for me, but just about time, the ability to destroy medium and light tanks in aircraft battles by using 30mm HE shells and higher has been fixed. This is a big nerf to aircraft like the HE-219, which relied pretty much entirely on the HE shells to destroy entire tank columns. The Hunter will probably not be able to destroy tanks anymore, either with the air target belt. Pretty much anything that was able to destroy tanks with the 30mm cannons before, with the HE belts, of course not the AP belts, but that's a different story. They will not be able to do that anymore. So this is a massive nerf to those kind of aircraft. Kind of sad about this, but at the other side, it wasn't very realistic, was it? Now something interesting. The damage model for deflected aircraft surfaces has been fixed. Now there isn't any indication of how it's been fixed per se. My guess is this either affects the deflecting parts like the ailerons, the flaps and the elevator, or it might mean that your shells will now bounce off less if you are at an extreme angle, like for example shooting at an enemy aircraft from behind. If that is the case, that's going to be great. We'll have to see how that develops though. For the Tu-4 and the B-29, the aiming angles for defensive weaponry has been adjusted. This most likely means a nerf. Or, in other terms, less gunners being able to fire at an enemy pursuing them at one time. Personally, I like this, but then again, I'm not a B-29 or a Tu-4 pilot. Here's something good. The Ki-87 has now the ability to separately shoot the guns of different calibers. If you didn't know, the Ki-87 is a Japanese Tier 4 premium aircraft which has two 20mm cannons and two 30s. Previously you cannot fire them separately, so you always had to fire them together. Now you can. It's going to be great and is essentially going to extend the service time of the Ki-87 in the air without you having to reload. We see a buff for the Spitfire F Mark 22 and the Spitfire F Mark 24. 150 octane fuel modification has been added. These things were kind of beastly before, now they're going to be even better. 150 octane fuel is quite powerful for the engine, so these things are going to be even better. On top of that, the Spitfire Mark 22 also got another buff. I think the 20 mils now carries slightly more ammo. So, now is the time to take your old Spitfire Mark 22. Take it in disguise. Oh, this is great. The Bf-109K4 finally has the ability to switch the 30mm Mk108 that's mounted in the nose with a 20mm MG151. Fucking finally. Thank you, Gaijin. I've been trying to ace that aircraft for so long now, and I barely have any modifications for it because it's just, that thing's stock is so goddamn awful. Now hopefully with the 20mm cannon it's actually going to be able to shoot down enemy aircraft. Here is something weird. The Doe 335, A0 and A1 variants have their armament changed. The A0 variant now has the ability to switch the 20 mils with 15mm cannons, and the A1 version now is forced to only use the 15mm cannon, so it loses the 20s. This is a nerf. This is actually a big nerf to especially the A1 version. In an aircraft that requires boom and zoom tactics like the Donner 335 does, I have the feeling the A1 is not going to be as great anymore as it was. And another nerf, the SBD-3 has the amount of ammunition for M2 machine guns changed from 1200 rounds to only 360. That is very, very little, and means that this thing will not be nearly as effective at ground attacking anymore. Here's a general adjustment to the ammunition belts for American aircraft in the earlier tiers. The 12.7mm M20 rounds, armor-piercing incendiary tracer, M8, armor-piercing incendiary, 46 Browning M2 machine guns have been removed from available ammunition of the American aircraft of the initial period of the war. Together with this, the effect of the M1 incendiary round and incendiary rounds of large calibers for other machine guns in-game was revoked. The bullet can now hit unprotected tanks through the casing. Previously, the bullet was bursting on the casing. So essentially, we get worse ammo now for the earlier M2 machine guns, but at the same time, the ammunition now has a high chance to actually penetrate up to the fuel tanks and maybe set them on fire. We'll see how this actually affects the combat in game, but consider this a nerf to early tier aircraft. Spitfire LF Mark 9. The old C model has been replaced with the LF Mark 9E. Essentially, it drops its I think it's 7.7s? I think it drops the 7.7 machine guns and changes them with 12.7mm M2 Browning machine guns, which is actually a buff. The Spitfire LF Mark 9 is going to be even more powerful now. Now onto tanks. The penetration value of the BR-420D 100mm round for the Russians has been adjusted. From what I've read, it's about 240mm now, which is a buff to the penetration values. So this cannon should be more apt at taking out heavier targets now. The recoil length and time has been fixed for die Flak 37 Selbstfahrerfette auf 18 Tonnen Zugkraftwagen, die Panzerjäger Panther, die Panzerjäger Tiger P. Ferdinand, die Tiger 2 and all of the modifications of the Tiger 2 or Tiger 2. I know you love it when I speak the proper German names. Now, they don't say if it's been increased or decreased, but just going by the Flak 37, I have a feeling that the recoil has been nerfed, which means the recoil time has been increased. So this is a flat-out nerf to the 88mm gun, mounted on most of these tanks. The Leopard A1A1 has now the missing 20mm mantled secondary shield armor added. This isn't really going to do much against APDS and HEATFS, but a little bit more armor is always nice against spalling effects and hash shells. And finally, separate decal types for holes and the result of hits with armor-piercing shells and HE shells have been added. This should result in more nice effects when you are playing tanks, and now you can distinguish between armor-piercing shells and HE shells that hit you. And that is pretty much most of the important patch notes. Again, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you can check them out yourself. Flight model changes have not yet been announced, although keep in mind this is the first iteration of the dev server. And this is it for this video. I'm not going to ask you to leave a like because honestly I was just reading off of the dev server and I'm sick and tired of doing more videos for tonight. It's 3:30 AM and I need to sleep. But hey, if you did like this video, consider it. You can dislike it if you want to as well. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you in the next video. My name has been MikeGoesBoom, and thank you for watching.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find